What's up, hoop heads? I'm Josh Tech. That is Garrett Tucker. He's the Alabama legend. And speaking of Alabama, we were just on Garrett's home turf. We were inside the Finley Center. We were inside Hoover, Alabama for HoopSeen Bama Jam, yet another edition of one of my personal favorite events. We're going to get into all that and more. But first, Garrett, how you doing? You recovering from this event so far?
Yeah, it was an awesome event, like you said. Bama Jams up there is one of my favorite events. One, just because I get to see a lot of Alabama teams in Alabama, and then also, I mean, you can't beat the Finley Center. That's one of my favorite facilities in the country. Very underrated, in my opinion. So yeah, but no, it's going great. Saw some good basketball. Added some new names from the weekend. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it a little bit and get going for the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I really agree that Bama Jam is one of my favorite events on our calendar, mostly because I only get to see Alabama kids once or twice a year for the most part, with whether it's at our Alabama camp or whether it's at Bama Jam. So it's kind of a fresh slate on guys who I haven't seen in 6 months or a year or whatever. And we got a lot of great performances. So within the last couple of days, we've had a couple of days to recuperate, a couple of days to kind of separate ourselves from the event. Between then and now, who has stuck with you the most? What has stuck with you? Whether it be a game, whether it be a team, whether it be a player, performance, what is one of your overall takeaways from the event?
I felt like during the event and then even past, we've talked a lot about the Alabama Fusion and Pro One, but I mean, rightfully so. I think both of those programs they played really well this week in all age groups. Obviously, the Fusion, they ended up winning one of the 17U division championships. Thought Adrian Woolley was really good. I really like him going forward. I think he's going to be a really good college basketball player, help some people win some games at the next level. I've actually had a lot of college coaches call and text me about him the past few days. So I'm excited to see where he goes. And then, I mean, Ty Davis and Simon Walker, those two, they were on it all weekend.
Yeah.
Simon was really good. I know you're a big fan of that duo, but those two right there, they really showed out. So yeah, that right there. I mean, it was those two programs, especially from Friday to Sunday. They kept you on the edge of their seat. Plenty of players coming out every direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really quickly, let's touch on that Pro One backcourt. I think Ty Davis is a guy who has, he's picked up a bunch of mid-major offers, and now he's starting to get looks at the high major level, right? You're starting to see like a school like Georgia Tech kind of went on a visit there. You're starting to see some of those high major programs kind of reach out to him. And a conversation that I had this weekend multiple times is whether or not Simon Walker can get to that point, right? I think the first guy that brought it up was a coach that played against him. He was like, "Do you think that kid's a high major level kid?" And I was like, "Well, I actually don't really know because I haven't, I've only gotten to see him sparsely throughout the years." And then as the weekend went on, I think more and more people started to realize that his trajectory, he's a 2025 kid playing up in 17U. His trajectory could be that of Ty Davis's, who is a 2024 kid, which, he gets a lot of those mid-major offers. And then by this time next year, maybe after the summer, into the fall, into the winter, this time next year, Simon Walker could be a kid that's getting looks from high majors. Is that crazy? Do you think that could be part of his trajectory, or how do you feel about that?
I couldn't agree more, and I'll be honest. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a high major shot maker. Really plays with some flair. Showed that this weekend. So yeah, no doubt. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to garner a lot of attention as an underclassman. And I'll throw somebody else that I know you really liked as an underclassman was Big Funchess from the Alabama
Oh yeah.
Fusion. I
Yeah.
know you were one of his biggest fans this weekend.
Yeah, I just it's hard to not be, right, with how big and how young he is. So, for those who don't know, Fusion had all of their teams from 15U, 16U, 17U playing up in the 17U division. So Funchess was on part of that group that played up in the 17U division. He was in that 15U Alabama Fusion squad that has a lot of young talent. For pound, that might have been the most talented overall team in the building. And Funchess is kind of the anchor of it, right? He's 6'10", he's super long, and he kind of has that frame where you're like, oh, this guy's not done growing. So I loved his overall impact on the game defensively. He kind of has his hands all over the place. He's kind of like an octopus. He's got like it feels like he's got 8 arms as opposed to 2. He's big, he's long, he's mobile. He can hit some shots. He stepped out, hit some 3-pointers. He stepped out, hit some mid-range jumpers. He was dominant around the basket on both ends. And when you look at him, you're like, this guy could end up being a 7-footer by the time it's all said and done.
Right.
I was asking around because when I was watching him, I couldn't help notice how big his feet were. I was told that he wears a size 20 shoe. So if that's any indicator right there, this guy's not done growing. And it was just one of those things where I don't want to put any kind of over hype on a younger player or anything like that, but I think he has to be one of those guys that has, it's rare that you see a guy with that much potential come through, Bama Jam or any kind of tournament for that matter. So I think just as a long-term play, I think Sam Funchess is really good. But also on that team, and you were the guy who kind of broke this stuff, Colvin Landry, he had a really good weekend for that 15U Fusion squad, didn't he?
Yes, played really well. Just a skilled, polished, kind of a 3-4 guy. Can play either forward position, 6'6". Shot it pretty well. He landed his first couple of scholarship offers. UAB came first Saturday, and then Jacksonville State and Virginia Tech came in. So those guys definitely watching, keeping tabs on Baller TV, obviously. And everything. So I think it's just the beginning for him. He's a really talented player in the Alabama's 2026 class. So, I think the great part is, from what I've heard, after that first offer and he had 3 come in, I think that's made him more hungry and everything to get after it. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays the next few weeks on the travel circuit with that 15U team.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's funny is this is what I love about Bama Jam. I kind of alluded to it earlier. I remember watching Colvin Landry last year in the 14U division. He was really good. He had a really dominant weekend, but at that time he was only 6'1". So this year when I went to Bama Jam to watch him, I was like, who is this big kid? And I heard, someone say, oh, that's Colvin Landry. And I was like, Colvin Landry, where do I remember that name? How do I remember that name? And I looked it up, and a year ago I was writing about him in the 14U division as a 6'1" guard. And now he's, 6'6", and he's picking up offers from all over from high major down to mid major to all kinds of offers. And I was like, okay, wow. It's like that year-to-year progression is what I love about getting out to Bama Jam. And, we've talked about the Fusion 15s, but Fusion 16s has a couple guys who are getting some offers too. You saw Jacoby Hill this weekend. What'd you like out of him?
Yeah, Jacoby, he really made his mark during the state championship, state tournament run. He's a bucket getter, and that's exactly what he did this weekend. Got buckets. So he was really good. Also, I thought Jeremiah Wilson on that 16U team, he played really well, really took a step forward with his game. He plays on the same high school team at Buckhorn with Caleb Holt. So really got out, had him an opportunity to shine. Thought he played really well, especially Saturday, hit some shots, great touch, passing. But yeah, the Fusion 16s and 15s, I mean, those teams have got some players, a lot of potential and everything. So I'm excited to see how things go for them going forward and everything. And also a couple of other underclassmen that I forgot to mention in Pro 1. New name for me, Adam Barksdale from Vestavia Hills. He played really well for the 16s in their championship win over the Tennessee Tigers. I think he came out and had 13 of the first 25, 26 points. He was really impressive. And also Jaden Williams from Ramsey, 6'5", 6'6" kid on the wing. He's going to be really good as a guard. It's going to play a little bit on the ball too going forward. So both of those names, young guys, I've got marked. I think they're really in store for a big spring and summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of moving forward, we've got 2 live periods coming up. We've got one this coming weekend, the one the weekend after. That's going to start a lot of the recruiting cycles for guys who haven't, had their recruitment pick up yet or anything like that. So with the live periods coming up, who are some sleepers from Bama Jam that you think coaches should get an eye on?
Yeah, I'll start out with the Alabama Generals. They've got 3 guys that I really like this weekend. 2 of those in the 17U team. First, Jordan Durley, unsigned senior from Florence. I was really high on him during the high school season. To be honest with you, I'm shocked that he's still available. He's a Division I player in my opinion, but he's getting plenty of interest from junior colleges to other 4-year programs. So I think he's got to be one of the better unsigned seniors in the South. And then also Keyshawn Watkins plays at Columbia High School in Huntsville. I think he averaged about 18 points a game this weekend at Bama Jam through 4 games, but just really, he does a little bit of everything. Tough, can defend, very versatile as a defender. So I think he played really well. So I'm excited to see where he goes from here. I think he's definitely a college level player that's going surfing under the radar right now. But my favorite guy from the Generals is another 2025 kid playing on the 16U is Jalen Chandler. Plays a small 1A school up in the Shoals area at Covenant Christian. Back-to-back state champions. But man, this guy just gets stuff done. 6'5", 6'6", long, lanky. Just brings the intensity, sets the tone every game. It's hard not to like him. So I really think he's got a chance to be really good. Don't know exactly what he is right now, but I mean, I just know he produces each time out. So it was good to get good eyes on him for a few games this weekend. How about you? Did you see anybody?
If you produce, you're going to find a way at the next level. It kind of doesn't matter what your position is. Coaches are going to find a way for you to get on the floor. And that, a guy that produced all weekend long for a team that made it to a championship game, team driven, was Bryson Berry. He's a 2025 that was playing up, and he's a great guard, great scorer. I think in their championship game in the second half, he rattled off 25 points, I believe. He got hot, and he did that all weekend. That wasn't just a one-off. Him and his backcourt mate Connor McPherson both were kind of high potent scorers and kind of led the drive for that team-driven squad. So I think if you're a college coach, you got to go out and see team-driven. You got to get early eyes on Bryson Berry. He's a 2025 guard who I think is going to have his stock raise significantly in coming months. And then another guy that I really liked was Pro 1 16U big man Josh Bowman. He picked up an offer from Alabama Huntsville, and I don't think that's going to be his last offer. I think he's got plenty more to go. He was really great, protecting the rim, finishing around the rim, great motor, good skill. And with that Pro 1 program, that they're going to develop kids. That he's going to keep getting better over the years. So I think by the time I look up next year, his offer list is going to expand, and I think he's going to be a guy that really sees his recruitment uptick next year. And another program that kind of had a lot of success this weekend was We Play Basketball. What do you like about their squad?
Yeah, We Play, first year program. I may be wrong on that, but they're very new. So they've got a lot of talent top to bottom. Friday night, they didn't have all their players on the 16U team, but Devin Barksdale and Raymond McCants, both of those guys play at top-notch programs in Alabama, at Jacksonville and Pinson Valley. Thought they had a good weekend altogether. I've said it time and time again. I'm a huge Devin Barksdale fan. Just navigates the pick and roll masterfully. Just really, he's an extension of the coach on the floor. So he was really good this weekend. And then Raymond McCants made shots, scored it from a little bit all over the place. Just showed what he can do when he's on the floor. So both of those guys, I think they're going to have some big springs, and we'll see where they go from here. But they'll definitely be back at Gibbons, so I'm excited to see how things shake out with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I like about Raymond McCants is that we've seen him do this for years, right? He's been playing significant minutes with Pinson Valley since he was pretty young, and we've been seeing him at our Alabama camps, at Bama Jams. We've been kind of seeing him build his resume throughout the years. I think another team that we've seen throughout the years of the Tennessee Tigers. I think if you're a college coach, whether it be this weekend, next weekend, or later on down the road during the live periods, I know a lot of coaches are kind of shifting how they recruit. If you're not recruiting until June, if you're not recruiting until July, you got to get eyes on Zundra Jackson for the Tennessee Tigers. 6-foot guard. He can really, really shoot the ball. And I know shooting's at a premium right now. This guy can absolutely shoot the cover off the ball. So you're going to want to get eyes on Zundra Jackson. And then another guy that we've been seeing for years with the Tennessee Tigers, I feel like we've written his whole story so far is Maddox Ruth. He's a guy that always just makes plays. Like he doesn't do anything, like he doesn't have like a defined trait, but he does everything well, right? He rebounds, he defends, he makes shots. He does a little bit of everything. And with Chip Smith, you're going to get an emphasis on defense and you're going to get an emphasis on toughness. And I feel like you brought this up earlier, an extension of the coach on the court. I feel like Maddox Ruth is that. He kind of has that same fire, that same tenacity that Chip Smith coaches with. And I really love him for it. And I think college coaches are really going to get a steal when they get Maddox Ruth. But, let's go down to the 15U division. I think a team that impressed both you and I, that we were really impressed with, especially on Sunday, were Lion Chasers U. Speaking of new programs, that's a newer program. What did you see out of them? What did you like out of them?
Man, just top to bottom. I mean, that team, they're very talented. Got to see a little bit of them last year, so it was fun for me to see them again this year. Man, they've gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
I know you know more of those players than I do, name wise, but man, I mean, they've got a little bit of everything. They've got length and athleticism. They've got some size. And then they've got a guy, floor general, that just handles the ball and gets it to the dudes really. And he's a
Yeah.
dude himself. So I know they're going to play a lot with us this
Yeah.
travel season, and it would not shock me if they're not in contention for every championship we have in every event. I mean, that they're just winners.
Yeah.
Tons of players. So that was a nice, and they made the trip from North Carolina to Birmingham, so that says a lot right there. Wanted to get some different competition and everything, so you can't fault that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Lion Chasers U, they've been to Florida, they've been to Bama, they've been to Atlanta, they've been all over the place on the HoopSeen platform already, and that's a team that we're still learning about. And we're learning that they have a lot of dudes, like you said, and they win a lot of games. I think they maybe have lost one game in their 3 HoopSeen tournaments so far. But two guys to know on that team, Winston Wade, this guy can absolutely shoot the cover off the ball. He's kind of a bigger guard. He can get to his spots, plays physically, and he can really shoot it like that. And Zion Puck, this guy's a longer wing, a longer 2 guard. He really gets to the basket. He really does a lot on defense. They're a really tough team. They won. I think they won by an average. I have a note around here somewhere. They won by an average of like 30 points a game or something like that, maybe like 25 points a game. They won by a lot of points. Right? Yeah, they played great. They played really good teams. So it wasn't just them going up against cupcakes. They just kind of took care of business all weekend. They were really impressive. Another team that won a championship in 15U was OTP National out of my backyard here in North Atlanta area. And their guard, that's his older brother. Their guard, Gabe Alterman, he had a really great weekend. He's a really poised point guard. He's on the smaller side right now, but he's still playing the 15U. He's still, in the 15U division, but he's so poised. He's so tough on defense. He'll check people up with the ball. He'll get the caps, steal. He'll make plays in that regard. Then he's a really great passer and all of that. So I think a guy that's going to kind of keep your eye on moving forward is Gabe Alterman with OTP National. I think that's a really, really good squad. Any other kind of, before we kind of wrap up here, any other shout outs you want to give out? Any other players or teams that kind of caught your eye?
Let's see here. I think we've covered a lot. Skylar Stovall from SP Elite, Montgomery kid, playing with an Atlanta, Georgia-based team. It's nice to get eyes on him. I thought he was good. Excited to see him going forward and some more. Really, I think we've done a good job. Another guy, as we get going in the live period, I'm excited to see is Sam Duskin, played for Pro 1 Select, also played at Coleman. So I think he's going to be a popular guy amongst college coaches this spring and summer. He does a lot of good things. So, Sam Duskin, definitely put him on your list. He's an available senior for sure.
Yeah,
he's a rising senior. He's 2024.
Sam Duskin, 2024. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Skylar Stovall because I've liked him for a couple years now. And, you'll be able to read about all the guys we've talked about and more on hoopseen.com because, we've got our top performers. We've got 17U, we've got 16U, we've got 15U. We've got a lot of stuff up on the site right now, and we have more coming out throughout the week. And, Garrett and I are both going to be in my town, Atlanta, Georgia, for Atlanta Jam this weekend. So, it's going to be a live period event. We've got a lot of teams. I'm looking through the schedule. My head is spinning. So, when you're looking for things to do, if you're a college coach, if you're just a fan of the game, come by Atlanta Jam, come by Swanee Sports Academy, and come hang out with me and Garrett. Let's talk about the Braves. Let's talk about, whatever you want. Let's talk about Hoopers. Let's talk about whatever. So for Garrett Tucker, I am Josh Tech. We're going to see you here in Atlanta this coming weekend. Thanks.